Welcome back to the Void Podcast or Void Productions. Today we're reacting to a Spectrum episode, Liberals versus Conservatives, and are they more similar than you think?
And I'm on the spectrum, so this appeals to me.
Exactly, that's true. Subscribe and like. Everyone says that, but it's super helpful, especially to smaller creators. That'd really go a long way if you guys enjoyed what we're doing.
Smash that button. All right, let's get going.
So cringe. Okay.
2, 1.
I've actually seen both sides. I'm a gay conservative, and I have seen the far right chastise me for my sexuality.
Okay, so what do we think? Is the far left and the far right equally problematic?
I would say they're equally dumb, but I think the right does far more damage. Although I'm open to arguments against that as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they are both problematic. But I do think that the far left makes up a much smaller minority of the Democratic left, or just the left in general, than the far right does. You know, when the far right still, like, I would consider anyone far right generally if you're supporting Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say they are probably more problematic.
And I've seen the far left chastise me for being conservative. I've had my own address put on the freeway here in Los Angeles because they feel that my voice should not be out there. So I see the two sides actively doing harm to those of us in the middle who have a really rational voice and want to express ourselves.
I would imagine as a gay conservative or a black conservative or a trans conservative, that is probably a legitimate thing that you get a lot because there's an expectation in these communities of like, oh, if you have this identity, then you have to have this political allegiance as well.
Yeah, that's something that does suck a lot is like oftentimes it's white liberals that get the most mad at people that they claim to like care about the most.
Yeah.
You know, like they're mad at black people if they vote Republican.
They're
mad at gay people.
Uncle Tom or something.
Exactly. And it does often seem like it's the people who claim to be the most tolerant that end up being the least tolerant.
In a safe way.
I appreciate the like anecdotal experience that you had. But like I think my issue saying that like liberals are more problematic, like I think everyone is.
What I talk about in my anecdotal incident is where I have never had a conservative physically attack me.
I don't really mind people's anecdotal evidence, you know, because like this is what it's all about. It's like Spectrum, like talking about like, wait, like you're not sitting down like having like a formal debate or anything. I don't really mind if like what you're only bringing to the table is like your anecdote on it.
In some ways, it's more refreshing because it's like you're not trying to aggregate all the polls. You're just like, you know, this is what I've experienced. And I don't doubt that these people have these experiences.
And more people might agree with you if you use your anecdote. It might be more relatable than saying like 52% of the left do this. You know, it might be better if you just say like, I felt this way when I've been at marches, or I felt this way in my community.
I would say though, if that dude was doing this like 20 years ago, he'd probably have a different answer because Republicans used to be far more anti-gay than they are today.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Physically attack me on the streets for what I am or who I am. They may verbally attack me. I've got that from the left too, but the left has physical attacks on my physical being out on the streets because I'm expressing myself.
So I mean,
multiple.
The opposite for myself. So like, you know, like experiences, as I said, anecdotal, like,
right.
You know, like.
And I agree, anecdotal. I don't dismiss that, but I wonder if the right does like physically attack as much as the left does. Like it could be just like the content that I've seen, but it does feel that like at protests that are headed by left-wing people, most often like very far left people, and that's what the question is, far left, far right. It does seem like that legitimate like assault does occur more to like right-wing people that come in there and try to have a conversation. Obviously, like a lot of the times they're coming in and they're trying to be inflammatory, but it does seem that like I do see more like attacks, physical attacks on like right-wing people from left-wing people than vice versa.
For sure.
Like your experience, completely valid, but to say, oh, liberals are like you know, worse.
Right.
Like,
well, it's not that there's no one worse, which is why I didn't move to strongly agree. My anecdotal experience tells me that there is a group of people on both sides that will do active harm to someone who steps out of their expected narrative.
I feel like when we talk about political extremes, I think one, there is a lack of desire for bipartisanship. The second thing is there's kind of like playful attachment to facts people on the far left and the far right, whether we're talking about Israel-Palestine or vaccines, people seem to have like very fun activities in terms of just completely making stuff up regarding these two things. And then the third thing is the demonization of political opponents, where people on the far left and the far right engage in this idea that the people on the opposite side of the aisle, they're not just different or have different ideas, they actually hate the country, they want to destroy us.
People get labeled as extreme.
Dude, this guy should like start like a channel or something.
I know. He's fully decked out in his own merch also.
Yeah, I think he always wears his own merch though.
Yeah, that's funny.
I wonder what his merch buys are. I wonder if people buy them. Like, who's buying Destiny merch?
I don't know. Like, severe Destiny.
Let me go open your closet. You probably have a lot.
Yeah.
Extremists just for being even pretty centrist. Based on our small conversation we've already had here, I don't think anyone here is extreme.
No.
But going down the street, you might get labeled, crazy leftist or racist. Or
I had to take his shirt off, for real.
It's interesting because when answering this,
would you consider wearing a Trump shirt that says "Never Surrender" extreme?
No, I wouldn't, because I think extreme is relative to where people are, and what percentage of the Republican Party is pro-Trump. 75, 80.
Yeah,
and that's half. That's
a
half
good
the
point,
country.
actually. Yeah,
so
I do agree with that. It is relative to what, like, if everyone agrees, like Trump, the election was stolen and Trump's the rightful president, then is it even extreme?
I would say like white supremacy and socialism are extreme because those are like minorities of both parties.
But theoretically, if those things became popular, you wouldn't consider them extreme at that point.
Not in an American context, at least. Maybe in a global context.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
this prompt, I sort of hesitated. I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I used to be what I would characterize as a radical leftist. Now I'm sort of right of center. And I feel like I get characterized as a far right extremist quite a bit. So I was thinking, what does far right even mean? Because so many people.
I think a really good question to ask yourself or to ask other people, if they're conservative or left wing, is who do you consider to be a centrist, like in the media sphere and the political sphere? Because that's a really telling question of where they think people's like ideologies lie.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like if you think,
if you're a leftist and you think like Elizabeth Warren or like Kamala Harris is a centrist,
yeah,
it's like you probably are a little bit skewed, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I totally agree.
If you're right wing and you think like Mitt Romney is a centrist, it's like you're skewed too.
Yeah, I agree. And like Trump couldn't even be considered an extremist either. Because like, I mean, even from his policy standpoint, like, I mean, he didn't really do that many, he didn't really write that many bills, but he like wasn't extremist even amongst the Republican Party. Like obviously there's like some fascism and like maybe some dictatorial elements there that you could talk about, but yeah, I agree.
People who I deem to be reasonable are characterized as far right. And I'm sure people on the left feel that very same way. I've gone and spoken to different campuses, both as a leftist and as a right of center individual. And I've never received more hatred or people trying to cancel my events than coming to those campuses as a conservative speaker.
Well, do you think that's because some of that rhetoric causes a lot of harm on the right side? Like a lot of like the things that are being said maybe in those talks like can have like lasting impacts on those students when you're on those campuses. So like, you know, and in the other way, like the conservative students might not like care as much about, you know, like, oh, like progress is being talked about. Like, you know, like
that's some echo chamber shit.
That's some bullshit, right? Like, oh, yeah. Like conservative people like don't like go far enough to like hate or like even like try to be violent at like if like a far left person's talking because they're thinking progress is being made. And what are they, anti-progress or something?
You're assuming your conclusion. It's like she seems like someone just from that brief thing who doesn't really have an understanding of that there are good arguments for stuff that she disagrees with.
Yeah. I don't, and I think it's probably true. I'll obviously like when majority of university and college educated individuals are left wing, like you're going to get more left wing people that disagree with right wing people when right wing people come onto campuses and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But I do think I just like never think that anything these people say, especially if they're coming on college campuses, they're not bringing Nazis onto college campuses, right?
No, it doesn't happen.
Like you bring someone on. Like, no, I don't think any kind of rhetoric like would deserve like any kind of like violence, like whether it be like shit, like trying to like cancel the event, like try to interrupt it, or like physical violence either.
Yeah.
I think like there's
perfect example. Dylan Mulvaney just spoke at the University of Penn. They are free to go and have a talk. Conservatives didn't come out and try to cancel that event. They didn't threaten staff. They didn't blockade the entrances. They let that event go on. Amala goes to speak, and there's rallies, they're pulling fire alarms, they're attacking the attendees. There is extremism.
I'm sure
just have-
that there is, but I don't think Dylan Mulvaney is the right person to use for your example because of how much
she's a leftist.
she's a leftist, but she's also had her life threatened on multiple occasions.
Right.
She's had to move around a lot because her address continuously is doxxed, and she wasn't even speaking at any sort of event. She was given a free Bud Light can, and her life was threatened.
I think something that's really important to keep in mind, given the entirety of the show, actually, is when we talk about like canceling or attacking people, the reality is if you have the power to do it, you will do it. And on college campuses, the prevailing thought right now is generally progressivism. So if they can cancel or if they can bully conservative speakers off campus, they'll do that. But then right now, because conservatives don't have power on college campuses or in some forms of media, they'll say, well, the left is pro-cancel culture. No offense to conservatives. You don't get credit for saying, well, we didn't try to cancel somebody on college campus. Yeah, that's because there's like 10 of you. You couldn't do it even if you wanted to. Right?
I agree with that. I think that if the conservatives had more power, they would try to use that power. Like even Trump said, like you shouldn't be able to criticize like your political opponents, or like the media shouldn't be able to.
Yeah, or
like that,
burn the flag, you go to jail for a year.
Exactly. Like those are things that he wanted to do, and I'm sure supporters supported. You know, so it's like
I think you're probably right. Although it
like
does,
some of them,
it just does feel like there's such a strong elite like not caring about free speech on the left.
Yeah.
And maybe the right doesn't care either. It seems like they don't, but I see more anti-free speech stuff from the left.
Totally agree, but I think that is because like how they're putting it, because the left has the power within the media. Like I think if like the left lost the power and the right gained the power, and maybe there were like left-wing people that were shitting on like Jesus Christ or something, and like they'd probably try to like do something related, like something like analogous with cancel.
Yeah, and that's true because they used to, like in the 2000s and stuff when they had more institutional power.
Yeah, so I'd imagine that it is very important who has the power.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not doing it, right?
I think there's way more conservative students than I think people actually give credit to, but maybe they feel like they need to, harbor those beliefs internally rather than, espouse them out loud. And I will say, any conservative who wants to shut down an event or a speech, I would wholly disagree with.
There should not be limitations on free speech. 3, 2, 1.
What do you think about that? Should there be limitations on free speech? Barring like obvious ones. Like,
what do you mean?
Call to violence, like the classic yelling fire in a theater.
Yeah, I'm a big free speech guy. I would think that you should basically be allowed to say whatever you want, with the most minimal restrictions possible.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
So we would fully disagree with that. Oh, it's an ad.
She's different from the others. She's a witch.
Is she a witch? Oh, she might be a witch. Oh, magic. I'm compromised. You aren't interested in that?
And this will be a good litmus test for what I was just saying about does the right or the left value free speech more?
Yes.
Okay, I hate this prompt. Because we all
okay, he's probably going to take the position that like we all agree there's some things there, but I think like in the way that people are phrasing that question, he probably would be like on fully disagree. Like he's just going to like,
But with that said, 3 of the liberals are on the anti-free speech side.
Yeah.
And one of them is on the other side, and all the conservatives are pro-free speech.
Mm-hmm. That like direct calls to violence are not acceptable. I imagine we all agree like you can't scream fire in a theater. Otherwise, I think that like there should be Nazis on college.
Dude's pre-watched. He just used the same examples as we did.
Yeah.
College campuses, like doing their ideology, you should be allowed to say basically whatever rhetoric you want, as long as it's not like violating the terms of service of a platform. I do agree that vaccine misinformation is harmful. I do agree that misinformation relating to conspiracy theories is harmful, but I don't think the proper way to go about addressing that is to lock it all down and to ban it. I like the steps that YouTube has taken where they might put a note under the video, or what Twitter, or the social media platform formerly known as Twitter, called X, is taking, where they have like the community note system.
I agree with that. I like the steps that certain platforms are taking to like allow free speech, but still implement restrictions, or not restrictions, but implement like kind of like guidelines, like say like, look at this might be something you care about. But the real question is, do you think anyone's actually clicking on that after and going like, and like, so like someone who's watching like a Russell,
of course not.
That's what I mean.
Anyone who agrees with the content of the conspiracy clip is going to assume that the community note is part of the conspiracy.
Yeah.
Which oftentimes,
so the real question is,
does it
even help?
There were Epstein clips that were flagged on Instagram, and it's like, what the fuck are we doing here? You know? I think it's kind of stupid. I mean, if they want to do it, go for it, but I don't think it affects anything.
So so
it's a virtue signal.
Would you agree that then we need like more like societal and cultural change, so we can like build like more of like a conversational society? Because like I don't actually believe anyone's like clicking on the community notes and like, oh, that's a really good point. I now don't agree with the post that I saw.
Yeah, absolutely. I think shit like this is like good for engagement.
This is the best way to fight the issues that we're faced with, not like community notes. Although good step, I still would rather that than people being censored. But
Sure.
I don't know. I don't think it's actually doing anything.
I was thinking the very same thing as you. Of course, there are certain things that you cannot do, even with free speech being present. And I'm not sure how you define hate speech. So with some of the hate speech laws that are coming about, I think those need to be reevaluated and maybe rolled back, because even people who we disagree with or we don't like or we view as evil should still be able to espouse their beliefs.
Right. For example, right now, what's going on with students on campus, I don't agree that Congress and other individuals should limit what students are talking about on campus, what's going on in Gaza, what's going on in Israel, with the crackdown on JVP, the crackdown on Students for Justice for Palestine. The people who are in power should understand that students are the most, I would say, abrasive when it comes to speaking out against injustices.
I'm a free speech absolutist. I think that there should be repercussions to certain free speech. But it's a constitutional right, and that's where I stand with it. I don't want any apps being banned. Right. I don't want people being banned.
Do you think any of these like free speech absolutists and like Constitution is the holiest document in the land? Like, have they really looked at anything other than like freedom of speech, right to bear arms, and then maybe like they know like that like you have the right to not incriminate yourself? Like, I don't actually believe any of these people like have actually gone through the Constitution and they know everything about it.
I mean, that's probably true, but those seem to be the most prominent amendments. Like, we should go through the Constitution on stream because a lot of them are good. You know what the Third Amendment is?
No.
So first one's free speech. Second one's right to bear arms. You know what they thought the third most important thing is?
What?
During wartime, a soldier is not allowed to go to your house and then sleep in your house.
Really?
That was their third fucking priority. That's before the right to remain silent.
That's insane. They're warring a lot, Maybe that's just a part of it.
Yeah,
that's kind of funny. But yeah, a lot of these people like pick and choose which amendments they care about, pick and choose which amendments they even read up about on,
Yeah, I think this whole topic is kind of a proxy for should hate speech laws exist, which to my understanding there are here in Canada, right?
Yeah.
But then in America we don't have them, and I fully oppose hate speech laws. I don't know what you
Yeah, no, I oppose them as well.
And banned from certain apps, and I think there's an attack on our First Amendment right now. Yeah.
So you think no one should be banned from platform?
Absolutely not.
So like someone calls me like the F slur, you like leave them?
Yeah.
Why?
I get called
because that's their right to say that. Now, you can. There should be measures taken where, like I said, there are repercussions to certain speech. I don't think the platform should be able to remove them, but I think you should have the right to block them, like we already can now. Right. Because I've lost 3 Instagram profiles just for saying, "Oh, I don't think children should have sex changes under the age of 18." Accounts gone. Like, I've lost thousands of followers and stuff for just saying things that I think are just common.
I do have a question for
you. It kind of blows my mind that she was so incredulous that people have the right to say hate slurs, but whatever. Like that's one topic. I believe what he's saying, that he probably was banned for saying something like that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because that's a position that's probably held by south of 30-20% of Americans.
Probably even more. Like I'd hazard that most Republicans, if not all of them, feel that way.
And then probably
a good chance of Democrats.
I would say most Democrats
it's a majority opinion.
Yeah, so the fact that the biggest platforms for communication in history are dying on the hill of extremely fringe issues.
Yeah, catering to like a minority of left-wing individuals.
That's where there's a good argument for like maybe they should be regulated as public utilities, and you should kind of be allowed to say whatever you want to say on these apps.
Yeah, and we might turn towards that. I think we're all like in this space where no one's exactly sure like what we can regulate. Like we agree that like it's a really bad thing to call someone a slur. We agree on like hate speech is a thing, but can we regulate it? Should people be charged for it? Like these are all questions that aren't fully answered right now.
Yeah.
For you, actually.
Yeah.
Because I can understand why like hearing a word like that is harmful, and it's not something that you want to deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather know who's homophobic though? Wouldn't you rather know who's racist?
Yeah. These platforms have the right as
I like that they cut that off there. I wonder what what they said in response to that.
Yeah, I think they tend to release like uncut versions of these, but
probably like on like a Patreon or something. They gotta respond to it or whatever.
I bet businesses to say what they want on those businesses. It's not cancel culture for them to take down slurs. And honestly, they're not that great at taking down slurs anywhere. Because I get called a on a daily basis online just for being a Jewish person.
The unfortunate thing is this internet and social media has become the town square. And the town square, if you were to take a box and put it in the town square.
Also, like I like onto the previous woman's point, saying like, wouldn't you like to know who like the racist and like homophobic people are? Because like they might not get restricted, but like what if like their job finds out they did that? Like if it's within the jobs, like if it's within the job's like terms of agreement or under their contract that you're not allowed to be hateful or something, you know, like it's different. Like they could probably get fired for that.
So what do you think about this policy? You have to use your real birth name or your legal name, and your profile photo has to be a picture of you. That would change the way the internet works.
I agree that it's a really nice idea, and like it would make people 100% accountable.
Yeah.
I don't like think it should be mandated. I don't think it would ever happen.
No, I don't.
I do like that.
That would
basically
end cyberbullying, though.
Yeah, it's like if people knew like who the people were that were saying like go kill yourself and like calling people the F slur and shit.
Yeah, because all the people who fucking hate on us are named like Carpet. Like,
yeah, we don't even know who you are.
Yeah, exactly. Gunshot wound or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
like, I don't even know who you are.
Yeah, I totally agree.
There is no limit on what you can say. And who's to say the city's going to come down and say, you use the word and we're going to take your soapbox and you can't ever come back to my city. That's exactly what you're doing when you're saying the platform has every right to remove this language.
You have the option to go to another platform. There's plenty of
So we have an option to go to another city.
I don't know if you really do. You have the option to go to another platform when most platforms are like relatively like it's like kind of unanimous, like that most platforms like will ban you for this type of thing. And there's not like really it's Rumble and Twitter. Like that's really all you can go to.
I think a reasonable regulation policy would be like, if you are a platform up to a certain amount of users, you can impose whatever rules you want. Mm-hmm. And then beyond that threshold, you have to allow everything. And it could be like 30 million or 50 million or something.
Why is that? Why is like the amount of people on there important to you?
So that if you're in what is basically the modern day town square, you're allowed to say whatever you want. But if you are sensitive to trigger warnings or you want to talk to other racists or whatever the fuck, you can go to a smaller community that has those sort of impositions.
Like I think more features that allow you to like be more selective about the content you want to see would be better. Like more than just like block this and like that, and then it goes into the algorithm. Like maybe start like saying like I don't want to see any of this. I want to see mostly this. You know? And that could turn into like echo chambery stuff when in relation to like certain topics. But I'd like to see like a trial run.
Yeah, that'd be great if you're like, here are the tweets I don't want to see. I don't want to see tweets with this racial slur, this homophobic slur, and then those are all taken.
Yeah, and maybe restricted just like words you don't want to see. You know, like the question is like, what if someone like was able to be so selective that they could like say like I don't want to hear anything about like Trump bad. You know, like then you'll never learn like about like some like things that might come out about him.
Yeah.
Or, like reverse like Biden.
I would prefer pure free speech, but if you were trying to bridge the gap, that might be a way to do it.
City then.
There's plenty of conservative platforms.
Now you have no free speech.
You have free speech because you have so many options.
I think we have to be really careful.
Once again, no, you don't really have so many options.
When we talk about the concept of free speech, I like the concept of free speech, and I would defend that across multiple platforms. That's fundamentally different than the First Amendment. The First Amendment has nothing to do with like the concept of free speech. Right. The First Amendment prohibits Congress or state or local governments from making laws specifically abridging your right to freedom of speech. Like hate speech laws don't exist in the United States because there's not hate speech. Hate can be an aggravator to an existing crime, but we don't outlaw certain types of speech. Twitter does not have a legal obligation. It's a
Go back here a second. I think the cameraman might be a fan of Destiny because you see how they did that like pan shot where like everyone's just nodding at his like take.
Your right to freedom of speech. Like hate speech laws don't exist in the United States because there's not
good point. Real good point.
Aggravator to an existing crime, but we don't outlaw certain types of speech. Twitter does not have a legal obligation. It's a violation of their First.
He's a part of the Taliban.
Yeah.
Amendment right to say they have to host whatever type of speech or tweet that somebody has on the platform.
And a hate crime and a hate incident are two different things too. And I wanted to say, like, if somebody called you, you know, the F word, and then they said they wanted to kill you, then that's a hate crime. Bingo. And that's not protected, right?
Correct.
But a hate incident, somebody could call you an F word and not say they want to kill you, and that's still protected.
Exactly. It can be an aggravating circumstance to an existing crime, but you can call somebody whatever you want, and it's not. Yeah.
I often criticize my own political party.
Yeah.
Are you registered with a political party?
No, but no, I'm not.
Will you register?
I mean,
as
like,
a liberal
I wonder,
in
like,
Canada?
I wonder if I'm registered.
You have to register.
Like, yeah, no, I don't think I am. Like, I voted NDP, which is New Democratic Party.
Would you register with them, you think? Or?
It depends on what it would entail. I don't even know what it would look like. What does registering make me have to do?
In America, it doesn't matter for me because my state's an open primary state, but in some states it allows.
Oh, so you have to register so you can like go vote in the primary?
Yeah.
If I did that and I really cared about voting for that party, I would do it.
Yeah, in the states you might register.
But as far as I'm concerned, I don't think I need to like register and like publicly disclose my affiliation or anything.
Yeah, I'm a registered independent because my state's an open primary state, so that allows me to vote in whatever primary I want. But if I had to, I'd be a Democrat.
Yeah, I probably would register as like liberal. I guess I don't know. I might even vote conservative for Polyev this come around because I don't know.
You can be registered liberal and vote conservative though.
Okay, so it doesn't really matter that much.
I don't think it matters at all in Canada. I don't know. Do you even have primaries here? Like,
no, but it's really actually kind of sad how little I know about Canadian politics,
Fair.
and I don't even really care. I'm going to move to America when I'm older anyway.
Canada,
I often criticize my own political party. We criticize our own political party pretty often.
Yeah, of course,
because it's mostly a fringe minority of our political party we criticize. You know,
well, I would put myself somewhere like probably on the like left of center within the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
So I criticize like socialists and I criticize like the Joe Manchin like conservative Democrats as well.
Yeah. So we criticize our own party, but like it's subsections of our party.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
I see that you're on the disagree side.
I am.
Like, what brought you there?
What brought me here is because I tend to be a more, I guess you could say, traditional conservative in that I don't like to speak ill of my own party. I just don't. For me to go out and air their dirty laundry out where everyone can see it is only going to put a blemish on them. And I always want to put my best foot forward, and I always want to put my party's best foot forward. But I will point out the instances where I disagree with.
That's like a nice way to like think about it when you're thinking about like sports teams or something, like something that doesn't matter as much as like the political party and the president.
Like I told you, I lost a parlay because Wiggins had 12 last night, but I might not tweet that.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. But yeah, I think it's a lot more important to like have like talk about when like your party has done poor than when like maybe like a artist you like has done something bad.
Well, how old would you say this guy is who disagreed?
How old would this guy be?
40s?
Yeah. Maybe early 50s.
I think a lot of this is like 50 years ago, this would be a lot more split probably because people used to have a really strong allegiance to party.
Yeah.
Like within the Democratic Party, there were actual conservatives and actual socialists. And there were within the Republican Party, actual conservatives, actual like far left people.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of eroded and they become like purely ideological over time.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's eroded a lot more on the conservative side because now it's like Trump or who else. But like I still align with like the Democratic Party.
Yeah,
generally.
It's just weird. It didn't used to be that way. That the party was one ideology.
Well, it wasn't that way until Trump got elected. Trump literally changed like the way that we think about politics. You know, because like now it's like people who support Trump are like full on in a cult. You know.
Yeah.
It's like literally this person. They Trump voters.
It's been a long process.
Criticize Republicans now and criticize the Republican Party because it's the Republican Party and then the Trump Party.
Yeah.
Agree with them privately so that they can make the necessary changes.
I've got to ask. I'm so sorry because you said you were a Trump supporter, right?
Yes.
This must be like the thing you hate the most about him, then, right? Because isn't Trump like the most like anti-Republican attacks?
But here's the thing: I come from a community where we found our power in local government. I've separated myself from this idea that I'm going to speak poorly about Trump because.
Speaking about local government, just really quick, it'd be really great if I saw like more left-wing people engage in local politics. It seems like conservatives do that, not as many as like they do in federal, but it's just like local government really does matter. You know, if you want to see local change, at least.
I think the key to that is unions. You know, like the left parties have to get back in touch with like labor and move away from like these fringe social issues.
Yeah,
like that would be the key to winning local elections.
Yeah, I agree.
I want him to put his best foot forward.
I wish more liberals did that, to be honest. I think a lot of liberals, we tend to bash our party on the social media platforms or when we protest a lot, right? But I think when it comes to going to these city council meetings, going to Congress, writing our elected officials, we tend to...
This guy kind of seems like a politician. He's really got like the whole... Like,
that's the Bill Clinton thing, yeah.
But
you know that's an actual thing?
Bill Clinton did?
Yeah, that his team like found. because this is too aggressive if you're pointing.
Oh, really?
And if you're not doing anything, it seems too weak.
Interesting.
So this is the perfect level.
That's awesome.
It's very 1990s.
They also
political
found out
thing.
that in photos that Trump puts his thumb up, people like that more. So that's why he takes it. That's why his thumbs up in literally almost every photo.
It's
now.
literally like the Mr. Beast like teeth.
Yeah, it's like,
thumbnail thing.
oh, keep the teeth out, don't open your mouth.
Yeah.
Fall back on that, and we rely on social media, and we rely on demonstrations.
There is a lot of infighting on the right that I think makes us look very bad. One thing about liberals, you guys really do stick together and you actually get work done, even when I don't agree with it. Whereas the right, with people like us, I feel like they see gay Republicans or conservatives as useful idiots, to be honest. That's why I kind of take issue with saying that I'm a gay conservative or gay Republican. They don't try to cast a wide net to bring new people over, whereas liberals do.
From my perspective as a liberal, I sometimes see y'all sticking really hard together.
same.
And y'all are like, no matter what, we're gonna vote red. Like, y'all seem very unified, even though you're talking about like public, like there's like internal discourse. But like I feel like
This is just something that happens on both sides because people who really are going to vote for Biden or Trump at the end of the day still might not love them. So they're going to criticize them. But there's a huge difference between criticizing something and being actually willing to vote against it. So that's the confusion here, I think.
I feel like liberals feel like there's a lot of internal discourse amongst us. We're always yelling at each other.
Well, that's interesting because Democrats, they're winning a lot more elections right now. You know, and that's another critique I have of the Republican Party. You know, the midterm elections they completely blew it. They put out a lot of bad candidates. The left didn't do that. They put a lot
policies. It's like the right stays stuck on certain things, like abortion. It's like they're unbudging with that, and it's like, all right, if we're pro-life, let's be pro-life. And
I think whichever party is the first to just break out of the abortion thing and just say we're going to compromise and we're going to put in like a ban after the first trimester or some sort of middle ground is going to win, like destroy, you know?
Yeah.
And Destiny says this a lot, abortion and guns. If the Democrats or Republicans could ever find a way to just compromise a little bit, they'd destroy it.
Yeah, I agree. Because even if like a really pro-choice individual doesn't like that, what are they going to go vote for? Republicans who want like an entire ban? No, they're not.
There's so many pro-choice, anti-tax Democrats and pro-life, like pro-labor Republicans that's such a wedge issue.
Yeah, I agree.
in and outside the womb, you know, because they only focus on abortion. Well, what about war? Because now they want to send everybody over to Israel. So I'm like,
Israel.
Violence should never be the answer to any issue. 3.
Yeah, I agree. That's true. Let's just skip.
Presented by the media. 3, 2.
Yeah, I think both sides are misrepresented by the media.
Yeah, of course. You know.
Obviously, I think like some things end up reigning more true on the Republican side. It seems like it, at least. You know, like people on the left might really hate Trump, but like you can't really point to any like kind of like violent uprising that was against Trump. Like you can speak to like January 6th, which was a violent uprising for Trump. You know, even if like you try to compare it to like the BLM riots, which were like 95% peaceful. You know, like that. Like had nothing to do with like politics, you know.
The left has a bit of an underdog complex that you're probably going to see based on where people stand here, where it's like they don't want to admit that they've won so many battles, and so they have to be like, oh no, the mainstream media misrepresents me on this fringe issue, you know. But like obviously right wing media misrepresents the left and vice versa.
Yeah, both sides misrepresent each other.
2, 1.
And that's why we need more conversations like this, because like even extremists, like claimed extremists, like if they were part of this conversation,
she's in such deep thought, man.
I know. If they were part of conversations like this, like then like everyone would be like de-extremized, you know. That doesn't sound good at all. Also, just like knowing that the other fucking side is just like a regular person on the other side. They just like have heard different things and they think different, like a different way. Like there's nothing like evil about the other side.
Honestly, the media is controlled by the left. I really never see any positive light shine on conservatives nor the right in the media ever, unless it's right-leaning media.
And to your point, what I think is really
But to be fair, Fox News is like I'm pretty sure it's the most watched news network in America
for like 25 years. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like they're conservative. You still have the biggest news platform.
Yeah, but probably like the next 3 or 4 are all liberal.
Yeah, it's true. But like I don't think that you're being like snubbed or anything.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
It's really interesting to even just look at the conservatives who are here today. It's a pretty diverse bunch of people. And when I was on the left, my characterization of conservatives was like white, heterosexual, old man. And to having moved over that space and see, oh, there's way more people who just happen to have conservative beliefs, or maybe they don't agree with.
You know, it's an interesting fact. What percent of America do you think is white men?
What percent of America is white men? 30?
Yeah.
Yeah.
30. Yeah. Just interesting. 70% of the country is not white men.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
But I would hazard though that like white men still probably hold like majority of like wealth positions. You know, they probably hold majority. I mean, I know that they hold majority of political positions. So it's like even if like the demographic is only 30%, like,
well, even that's interesting, right?
What
if they hold 80% of power positions? Then it's like that is, you know, some bias going on there.
Yeah, there's some truth.
But it's just shocking
like,
that such a low number in so many ways.
Yeah, like I hate when people like talk about like they say like, oh, we need to like equalize like public office, you know, like have it like equal men and women or something, you know, like that's I agree with that, because then people will like say like, oh, do we need to equalize bricklayers? You know, there's 99% men. It's like, no, I don't think we do. I think we need to equalize the most important.
Oh, I disagree with you then. I think they brought this up in class. I don't think we should have gender quotas or race quotas for office.
No, not that we need to have gender quotas, but I think that it's much more important that we strive to have equal representation or like proportional representation of your country in like politics than it is to have like equal like proportional representation in like relatively insignificant jobs.
I'm not super concerned with it, to be honest. Like, I'm fine.
No,
with
you know,
it.
I'm not concerned, but I like understand why people want to push for those things enough for others. Like, it is probably more important that like if like your country is broken up demographically, that like it's relatively proportional in the things that affect the entire country. You know.
Agree with some of the woke stuff that's happening right now. I think we are often mischaracterized.
But yeah, I totally agree. I think quotas are a little foolish.
Yeah. I do agree that right now, ironically, it seems like the left and the farther left have more kind of corporate media control in terms of how images are displayed. So you're going to feel like if you're a conservative that you're not accurately represented, and the left maybe gets some more fair representation. But on platforms where conservatives run things, holy Christ, are people on the left completely and totally misrepresented. Like, how many times have I heard these stupid quotes from the WEF where it's like, oh, you want us to rent everything and own nothing, and you want us to eat bugs, and you're on your 57th booster shot. Today, if anybody's ever listened to Rush Limbaugh, Michael Savage, Billy Cunningham, like any of these people, these guys are not giving fair, accurate representation of the left. Their voices just tend to be more marginalized or smaller now in media because of how much corporate control kind of like bows to the woke agenda, I would say.
I'd like to push back on that just a little bit. I agree with a lot what you're saying, but when it comes to right-wing media, maybe platforms like the Daily Wire or PragerU, they're very open about the fact that they're conservative. A lot of them.
We should totally react to some PragerU videos.
Yeah, totally.
Like, have you seen that?
Yeah, there's a lot of
the funniest,
really
dumbest
weird shit on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Mainstream left news.
I agree.
Present their opinion as fact, but you know, like someone like Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, she disagrees for real.
He'll tell everyone, you know, listen to my show, listen to Pod Save America, figure out what you think is right. Listen to
Pod Save America is actually a really good podcast. I don't know if
Pod Save
you don't like
America.
them.
I don't like neoliberals, man.
Why not?
It's just like bullshit. Like,
you're a neoliberal.
No, I'd rather be a socialist than a neoliberal.
I don't believe you.
Fuck Pod Save America.
Dude, they're chill. They're informed. They were part of like Obama's.
I don't. My problem with the Obama administration is just like I feel like they didn't have any teeth. Like, they didn't go out there and like fucking fight bad. I think they could have done more, and they didn't do it.
That's possible.
Yeah. And it's because Democrats are more worried about like civility and shit than they are about like actually getting dirty and like getting shit done.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
And you could figure out the facts based on what.
Yeah, Miles only listens to the Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson podcasts.
Yeah, that's true.
Saying.
I'm not even gonna finish.
You don't see that as much from the left.
I want to push back on that because Ben Shapiro has stated a lot of opinions as facts.
Yeah.
I don't think I think that there are better examples to use within the conservative party that are more open about being opinionated, but Ben Shapiro is not.
Yeah, or Michael Knowles saying transgenderism should just be eradicated from society. It's like, so now y'all are really giving them a bullet to use against us.
It's the culture war bullshit.
Yeah,
like, it's just like, that's what I'm so sick of between both sides, because I do think that both sides are misrepresented within media.
They went way too hard with the Bud Light thing. I'm like, let's let it go.
Especially on this topic now, I think.
Yeah, we agree. Misrepresented. The American dream is still alive. What do you think?
I don't even know what the fuck that question means, man.
I think it has something to do with like That's a lot of, it's more of a conservative idea now, like pull yourself up by the bootstraps kind of idea. I think there's like totally valid criticisms that sometimes you just can't pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Like there are just difficult living conditions that people live under sometimes. But I do think that it feels like our generation does seem a little bit lazy at times. Like it's definitely true that older generations were less lazy. We like are leagues ahead of them in terms of mental health. Like we care way more about it. We care about helping others out in that regard.
Yeah.
But I do think that
like you've been struggling with your anxiety and it's making school difficult, right?
Yeah, exactly. Not at all.
Dream is still
Did you
alive.
do you say that?
What?
3,
Publicly?
2,
To
1.
the school?
No.
Oh.
I feel like when upward class mobility is so hard as it is right now, the American dream is.
She said something that this guy agreed with.
That's my biggest pet peeve in this fucking show is when people move after they've already stood.
Yeah.
Because it's like, do you not believe in anything?
Yeah, it is a pet peeve. It's like, how easily swayed are you?
Yeah.
That like someone can say one thing and you're like, it's a good point. But to be fair, also maybe they weren't decided when they were sitting on that line, and then like they moved over and like, oh, I got to pick a side. And then like, oh, good point. Let me move over. I like don't get it.
It'd be awesome if this show didn't exist like as a show and it was just like an experiment by like psychologists to like study people's like posture when they're standing for long periods of time.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, dude. We'd have nothing to react to.
Yeah.
It's either dead or it's on life support because it's just damn near impossible for people to climb out of poverty. Mm-hmm. Everyone thinks that they're going to be the next Jeff Bezos. You're closer to being on Skid Row than you're ever going to be to Jeff Bezos.
I think the American dream has become the American memory. Like I was thinking about this just outside of politics. Yeah. Like, how a lot of people have nostalgia for like the past and stuff. It made me look at America and it's like, we're not going to get back the America that we were post 9/11 when everybody was a little more unified outside of the Patriot Act and everything. We're not going to get the America where all races could get along without people saying, oh, you're culturally appropriating, you're microaggressions, all that little stuff that keeps us divided. I don't think we'll get back to the America that we grew up in. I honestly don't. Like, I want to be optimistic, but it's hard.
I guess I just don't know that that's the necessary point of the American dream. I think it shifts and it changes and it takes on the context of the time that it's in, where we have that sort of old school nuclear family, house with the white picket fence. That's changing with technology and corporations buying up properties.
Do you think both the left and the right are kind of just working towards a utopia that will never come?
Yeah, probably not.
You don't think so? You know, there's an image in like right-wing people's head of like the picket fence and the nuclear family, and the left-wing people like.
I think people are just living their lives and like they vote on certain issues and like certain people. Like me personally, I have no utopia. I think like striving to something better is nice, but
you're not an ideologue.
Yeah, I guess maybe I am, but I think more people are probably like me than you think. No, I don't think anyone's really like. I don't think many people are like this utopia we need to get to. If we didn't, it's a failure.
And things like that, but I don't think the American dream is dead. I think it's taking on a new form. I think still there is no better place to be, no better place for progress. And as you watch people in other countries, what are they influenced by? They're influenced by America. Where do they want to be? They want to be in America. So it speaks to me that the dream is very much still alive. Opportunity is very much still alive. It just looks different.
The dream or the idea?
The dream.
The dream.
Yeah,
I agree strongly with what you're saying.
He thought he owned it. He's like, the dream with the idea. Nope, yeah, the dream. I still think the dream, not the idea. That's what I was saying the entire time.
That dream of being able to buy a house, having the nuclear family, being happy, that's still my view of the American dream. It is harder.
That's what I'm talking about.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
No, he's okay, but the issue is he's been prompted with this question. He's like they're talking about it this within the context of the American dream thing. Like he probably thinks about that, but I just don't think that's like at the forefront of his thoughts.
I disagree with you because I think old people are like, I wish society was the way it was when I was young.
Yeah,
which is largely biased by nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of young socialists envision this kind of like free love world that they want.
Yeah, maybe I'm more of a realist than other people.
I think that's probably what it is.
To attain, that's for sure. It might be dead here in California.
It's not. I can assure you.
I want to believe that the American dream.
Why'd that make you laugh?
Just go back like 5 seconds.
It's not. I can assure you.
Keep on.
I want to
He's
believe
like,
that the
Oh,
American dream can be like real.
yeah, you're never allowed to do reaction.
The more I've experienced life, the more I feel it is a little more on the dead side. Like it's like this idea that we're taught when we're growing up is that you work the hardest, you're gonna get the most, right? Like, but that's just not true. Like, and that's not the world we live in. And I know it's a little
I don't know. I think I kind of disagree. I think there is like obviously certain exceptions to like how hard you're able to work. But I think most people that work legitimately their hardest will climb.
Do you remember those like doing like graphs in middle school and shit? There's like y equals mx plus b.
Sure.
I think that there is the harder you work, there's always going to be increase.
Yeah.
But that b can be added or subtracted based on demographic characteristics, based on innate intelligence and shit like that.
Yeah, I agree.
So like if you're a poor like black person, for example, growing up without a father, you're going to start from a much lower place, but still the more work you put in, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Pessimistic. As I said, like
I do think now though, some people disregard like how important work ethic is. And it's like it is the driving factor.
Yeah. And I think that's
like I think like it's really
socialist,
important
you know?
to like factor in like race, like financial demographic, like where you live, who your parents are, like how many parents you have, the friends around you. Like those are all factors. But working hard is the number one determinant of like where you end up going.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
I want to be like the poverty cycle breaker.
Obviously a really poor person.
But even she's saying that, right?
Okay, yeah.
My family, but it's like it feels next to impossible sometimes.
It may feel out of reach, but I started my adult life with $35 in my pocket.
And obviously I'm not discounting. There's like a very clear reality that luck is is a thing, you know, like it might not be luck, it might be whatever you want to call it, but sometimes people do get lucky. People hit like the right business idea. People might hit like the right like reaction on like content, you know, or whatever. Like they might meet the right person at like a basketball game that ends up being their future boss or something, you know, like there's obviously an element of luck.
It can be incredibly difficult, but like honestly, like just as an NBA guy, like listening to these guys talk, like Durant talking about like growing up with like single mother, like bad place, and he just talks about it. He's like, I had to kick a lot of people down to get here. Like, yeah, you have to work insanely hard, but if you do, then you probably are going to end up being successful. Yeah, but you probably should not have to work that hard to do that.
And I think it's important to factor in like these issues that do affect people, but it should never be like you can talk about them, but you also have to work 100%. You know, like and all that shit can be really horrible. That's just life. Sometimes people are born into unfortunate situations, but you just have to work 100% to give yourself the best shot.
And that's why I'm a social democrat. Like I think that you should never have to worry about if I'm sick, I can get to a doctor. Mm-hmm. Cost should never be a factor to getting educated. And some basic things should be set. And then beyond that, work your ass off and see how far you can fly.
I agree.
I was a runaway because my parents locked me up. I saw them achieve the American dream of having a home and having beautiful children. I wanted that. And
okay, great. We're not going to react anymore. There's no more prompts. They keep talking about the same stuff, just different people's opinions.
Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, be sure to hit that subscribe button and comment down below what you want to see us react to next.
Yep. Thank you.